I now call to order the meeting of the Granby Zoning Board of Appeals on this 28th day of May at 6 p.m. This is a reminder to all members present. This is a meeting. This is not a hearing. For this meeting, only the board members will make discussions amongst themselves and ask each other questions. No questions will be allowed to be asked of the general audience. General audience is not allowed to make comments or any questions at this meeting at all. Okay? At this time, I would like each member to please state their name for the record.
Anthony, Huertas, member.
Ron Harrop, member.
Jeremy Carrier, chair.
Kathleen Bronner, vice chair.
Okay. At this time, we have one item to bring up for discussion this evening, and this is actually to discuss whether to issue a special permit for the Granby Bow and Gun Club, special permit for 2 building structures on their property. So this is to follow up on the hearings, 2 consecutive hearings that we had on such said topic. And this is for, excuse me for a moment. This is for decision of Granby Bow and Gun Club Incorporated petition seeking a special permit applicant of Section 6, Administration and Enforcement. 6.21, special permit granting authorities regarding an existing constructed shooter shed approximately 10 foot by 90 foot located in the lower firing area, and a proposed construction of a 50 foot by 16 foot shooter shed with sound suppression material to mitigate noise on the upper firing area, to be located at 85 Chicopee Street, Granby, Mass., known as Map 15, parcels C3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So at this time, I open up any discussion on this permit application to the board. Does anybody have anything they would like to discuss so that we can try to formulate a decision on a vote?
So just a quick question. The application on both shooter sheds, well, one proposed construction, the other one's existing, just for permit of use. Is the application, I was trying to pull it up again, there's no way to split that application into 2 different items, correct? Or is it
Correct.
just
This is a
because it's
single-
applied for one single permit?
Correct.
Okay.
That was my discussion prior to council. This has been applied for as a joint thing on there. What do you-
That was I had the same question as Anthony on it, but you've clarified that it is for both, it can't be separated, so for us to either agree or decline the special permit, it will be all whole.
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to clarify. For my decision-making, it was really not having a full site plan, and that showed topography, elevations, everything that we asked for. So as that was requested as part of the permitting process, that was where I was concerned in not receiving that. So that's where my decision is really being led by.
Okay.
Okay?
In part of that, because that is some of the discussion that we have had amongst ourselves at these meetings and brought questions forward to the Sportsman Club, was that obviously in the original hearing that we had, just so that the public knows what has happened up to this point, our initial hearing was actually pushed back. It was postponed because the applicant had not provided at the time the full set of plans for the gun club as outlined in the Section 6 of our zoning bylaws. So with that, we pushed it back. Before the date of the next hearing, we actually had a petition from the Bow and Gun Club to do a waiver, which would be under our purview to do so if we found that it was unnecessary to do a full site plan. That waiver was voted on and denied unanimously. So therefore, at that time, this board, acting together, had gone through our secretary for the town had sent out all notification that the waiver was declined. At that time, specifications again of all the entirety of the topography, all the other drawings for water features, barrier structures, any type of buffer zones, all of that was inclusive in that description of what was required. After that, we still did not receive any of those plans. We did move forward with the hearing to try to continue to see what the property was entailed for this type of a structure. If anyone does not know, this board was actually invited to do a site visit, which was very nice of the club. We appreciated that. It gave a better understanding. Unfortunately, a lot of the drawings that we did receive that they called a site plan showed no gradation, showed no elevation from there. There is no water features. There's no showing of a pond in an area or what the upper shooting area was. So we did get a better understanding of that in its entirety. I didn't know if anyone wanted to discuss anything that they saw at that time that might help with the decision as to whether to or not grant that. I did go over my first point that I had already put down here. And on the second point, I put down that the ZBA continues to express that this application affects the Granby Bow and Gun Club in its entirety, not just the plot that was specified and listed on the incomplete site plan, which shows section 15C6. Again, because the use of this definitely expands from the shooter shed area and will affect it for drainage, water flow, and everything else that has been specified already as listed with our letter to the Granby Bow and Gun Club and its representation for lawyers. The applicant's lawyer on a few occasions used the cost factor of a topographical map and full site plan to be too much for the applicant to provide, and that cost factors to complete this club's project should have been taken into full consideration in this chair's view before putting permits in and proceeding with any other site development prior to getting that done. Zoning bylaws need to be followed, and if they had been done in the proper order, I think this would have been negated before it got to this point. The applicant and counsel had also refused to ask any questions or statements against the gun club from complainants about any of the club's what they felt to be past violations or any past movement of earth or anything like that. That, of course, is their purview. They are allowed to do that. They're allowed to not answer whatever they want. I felt as chairperson that if in working in cohesion with the neighborhood and keeping in harmony with the neighborhood, and they really wanted to find out what the problems were and what they could do to try to resolve the issues, might have been a good time at the hearing to actually have openly discuss those type of issues, because everything that has led up to this point does affect the club for these buildings, because we need to look at what we have now and how it got to that point. The original permit that was issued obviously went past an 18-month time frame from the time it was originally issued in 2010 to this point, and that's why we're back for a new special permit. I'm only stating that because some people in the community are still asking, well, hasn't this been permitted before? Why are we re-permitting, and what is the change? So that's just to let people know that there wasn't a completion of it at that time, inspection, or a satisfactory amount of progress on each one. Also, the chief reoccurring statement from the club is that they have operated the same for the past 70+ years and nothing has changed. The community has come forward in large numbers to argue that this statement is far from truth in their understandings. The harmony of the neighborhood has indeed changed for the community to come forward and now make statements that this is not set forward as the truth, being that their operations have not changed. We are not at any point saying that the club cannot operate in their non-conforming license the way they have now to operate as a gun club. That is not what we are trying to do today. We are trying to establish whether these construction of these two buildings on the property meet within what the zoning bylaws can allow them to do and a special permit would allow. At this time, do we have any other discussion or comments that the board would like to make? With each
I
other?
think, you've made some very valid points, Jeremy, and I believe initially, from 2010, for that not being met within that 2-year period, within the 18 months in the construction. But I go back to that we were very clear as a board for what we needed in regards to a site plan, and where to position, where these pieces, these two buildings fit on the lot as a whole, and all the other issues, elevation, topography, water, and so forth. And it was part of the request for a special permit. It's really as simple as that, and that's my perspective, my observations.
I would agree. Anything else to discuss? Does the board feel that they are ready at this time to make a vote, a decision on this?
Yes.
I make a motion at this time, whether the Granby Bow and Gun Club Incorporated, their petition for the special permits for both of these structures located at 85 Chicopee Street. Have a second? Motion has been seconded. Any discussion before a vote? Okay. All in favor to pass the special permit, please say aye. All opposed, please say aye.
Aye.
At this time, the special permit is not granted to the Granby Bow and Gun Club. This has been a unanimous decision across the board. I thank you all at this time for your understanding with that. At this time, we're going to have a discussion across the board. We just need to make a decision. I'd like to see within the next 2 weeks to meet again, and at that time have a discussion of our last meetings, just to read off the meeting notes and accept them. Do we know if in 2 weeks from now we are available?
Should be, as far as I know.
That would be June 11th.
Yes.
I'm tied up on the 10th, but I could do the 11th for a quick meeting.
And on the 11th, you are available?
Yeah,
You're
not the
available on the
10th.
As I know.
Okay, so our next zoning board of appeals meeting will be on June 11th at 6 p.m. We're hoping to have it at the safety complex. At that time, we will also be discussing a tabled matter for Mr. Shalhoub. Okay, do you have any other discussion?
Is there a appeals time after our decision tonight? Is there a 20-day appeals time or anything?
There is no appeals on that.
Okay.
Within 14 days, we must give in writing our decision to the applicant. So that will be handed in writing.
Okay. I didn't know on some of them there's an appeal time.
Because of the court decisions and the fact we are in land court, this will move forward to that, is my understanding. So, any other discussions? Make a motion to close this meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is hereby closed at 6:14 PM.